I'd like to welcome you all to service this morning at Hope Unitarian Church. It's wonderful to see you all today, especially on this day. We've got such wonderful music here. We always have wonderful music, but we thank Julia for bringing her gang along. Well, is it Julia bringing her gang along, or is it?
They're bringing me. We're here together.
Yes. And I'd really like to welcome you all to Hope Unitarian Church. And if you're new to Unitarian Universalism, one of the things I like to say is that we're covenantal, we're not creedal. We're relationship-based, not dogma-based. And that can be a weird idea, but it basically means that we are focused on being together and what it takes to be together versus what we individually believe. What we individually believe is just fine as long as we adhere to our values and our principles so that we can associate together in peace. Being rooted in love, we believe that all human beings should be treated with dignity and respect. At Hope, we seek to transform ourselves in the world through community, service, and love. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, and whatever your life circumstances, you are welcome here. At this time, I would invite you to rise in body or spirit as you feel called to sing our hymn of gathering. Let's read our chalice lighting by Reverend Michelle Collins together. Come, awaken your senses to this moment where we practice the revolutionary act of noticing, the breath that sustains us, the beauty hiding in ordinary hours, the small things that keep hope alive. Come, let us train our attention on that which leads us home. You may be seated. We lift up those irrevocably changed by the recent elevation of the bombing brigades. We lift up those irrevocably changed by the ice machines the government dreams to send its dreamers. We lift up those who can't sleep at night because their neighbors and friends can't come out in the light. We lift up those who can't sleep at night because the bombs in Ukraine, Gaza, and Iran are always in sight. We lift up those on the Scrabble tiles that a president tries to erase to a cheer with a smile. We lift up those on the Scrabble tiles, LGB, especially the T's who can't find release because they invalidated their IDs. We lift up those erroneously distracted because the impacting of the impacted aren't believed when they're trafficked. We lift up those erroneously distracted by a predator who parades as a president performing for Christian actors. We lift up those busted and beaten black boys not breathing, even hearing the treason that white rage is tied to broken policing. We lift up those busted and beaten but never retreating, though treatment is deadly, so very unfriendly when Glocks, SIGs, and ARs are contending. We lift up those the bourgeoisie refuse to depose, that justice will roll, that God will impose judgment in the form of justice departments, an angry electorate making their voices known, power presiding from this nightmarish lying that is lying in wait to snatch an election without a debate on what's right and wrong in our corporate estate. We lift up those the bourgeoisie refuse to depose, that rate the rape of the land very low, to the prophets that rise, ignoring the people their cries, as data centers rise on a land that was owned by those that are stigmatized, and they baptize the native babies in crude. And I don't mean to be rude, but this dance makes me mad when all the dreams that we had, we lose to this oligarchical fad that puts my data on auction and use ChatGPT for their priest replacement drop-in. We lift up those who can't lift up themselves, and we call upon the spirit of peace to heal a broken world, even if it takes our hands. Peace. At this time, let's say our covenant together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. And at this time, I would invite you to rise and body your spirit as we sing our next hymn, hymn number 323, Break Not the Circle. You may be seated.
Hello, my name's Anita Ward, and I'm here to make announcements for us. First, I want to say our musicians today are Julia Harris on piano, Eric Ryan Johnson on fiddle, and Carol Young on banjo and mandolin. We have such talent. Okay, March 22nd, the forum is going to be honoring women who founded our church. Women or their families who founded our church in 1968. And there will be a luncheon after the church in their honor. I'm looking forward to that. Lunch Bunch will be March 18th at Fish Daddy's Grill House. Call or text Mary Baird if you will attend. Mary, would you raise your hand? So let her know if you're coming. March 29th is a breakfast on the Hill. There is a sign up on the long table for Feed the Homeless. We need servers and et cetera. If you haven't done it before, it's very rewarding. I mean, they really, really appreciate it. I mean, they appreciate you. Hope Happy Hour is a week from Thursday, March 26th, at Bird and Bottle, 3324 East 31st Street, 5:30 to 7. Have a beverage, a cocktail, an appetizer, or a meal, but most of all, have fun with your Hope friends or guests. Contact David Tracy if you're interested. And this announcement I am real excited about. We get new front doors on Thursday. I don't know. I've seen too many people struggle with that darn door.
And good morning. I'm Vanessa Self here with a special announcement. Today marks the official kickoff of our 26-27 annual pledge drive. If you were here earlier, you got to see Jeff and I present on the work the Stewardship Committee is doing and hear all the details about it. But in short, we have mailed you pledge cards and an appeal letter and a brochure. We have a table set up out in the fellowship hall where you can deposit your pledge card. There's also posters up with additional information about our income, expenses. We are here and happy to help answer any questions you have. You can donate online. We have a goal this year of $180,000, and we really appreciate everyone contributing. One other final thing to mention about it is that our theme this year is United in Hope, and we are using puzzle pieces as a visual part of our theme, thinking of each of our contributions to this great puzzle that makes up the Hope community. If you'd like to write a reason why you give to Hope or why Hope is important to you on a puzzle piece and stick it up around the fellowship hall, that would be great, and we welcome that throughout the whole pledge drive. Thank you.
Our meditation this morning is by Nancy Reed McKee. Sit and rest for a minute. Take several deep breaths in and out again, calling your attention to this space. Attention. Pay attention. Pay attention to where you are right now. I mean, where you are. Where you are. Where you are. You are here in this community, in this sanctuary, in this state, in this country, on this beautiful blue planet, whirling through the tailspin of the galaxy. You are unique. You are made of cells and hormones. You are a mix of thoughts, emotions, values. You are the inheritors of your parents and ancestors dreaming. You are part of the human inhabitants of this earth. You are. You exist. You are breathing. You are still. You are connected. You are present. You have a holy spark inside you. You are here now. You are paying attention. Blessed be.
Our reading today is by Anna Johnson. It's called Me and My ADHD. Thanks for being there for me when I can't shut off my mind, when the world is still silent, my thoughts are not confined. Thanks for keeping me company as the moon shifts into sun, showing me the world anew, a journey just begun. You're the spark within my mind that's never really gone, turning simple thoughts into an endless marathon. Thanks for being my dance partner when the world is still. Your rhythm is unending, a constant test of will. Thanks for showing me the world in a kaleidoscope of thought. Your whispers a relentless tide, a battle always fought. Thanks for making me feel alive, even when it's rough. With you by my side, I've learned I must be tough. Thanks for pushing me to do more, reminding me of my might. Even when the world is still, you and I soar in flight. You never let a moment pass without a flurry of ideas and schemes. Thanks for the restless nights filled with crazy dreams. Thanks for showing me the world in a very different light, every detail amplified, every color bright. You're there in every laughter and every little cheer. You're there when I'm at my worst, a constant whisper in my ear. You've been with me through it all, for better and for worse, or for worse. I accept you are a part of me. Together we traverse. As I learn more about you on this roller coaster ride, I've come to understand that I must take my life in stride. Every moment is a challenge, yet a chance to truly live, and that's a journey to myself I'm willing to give.
On behalf of our students, our violin students who meet here, we appreciate the use of your building once a month. I'll be playing music this afternoon at 1:30 at Bishop Quigley, up by 18th and Boston, Cincinnati, and with my Irish band at 1:30 today, and then at the Irish Festival with a band from Ireland called Corner Boy. And then everywhere on Tuesday, the church studio, Kilkenny's at 2:15, and then Arnie's in their big tent at 5 o'clock. Busy day.
I think it's important to note that 3 of the songs in our order of service were written by a guy named Eric Ryan Johnson. And our fiddler today is a guy named Eric Ryan Johnson. Just coincidence. And how lucky we are to have people like Eric who like to come and serve the church for us on these special days. So if you know me, you know I love to say stuff from the pulpit I'm not supposed to say. I mean, I really get a kick out of it. Maybe I'll cuss a little. Maybe I'll quote nu metal bands from the 90s. I might shout out to someone in the audience, "Hey, James, how you doing back there?" Last night at the chili cook-off, I was sitting next to Rick, and Rick, when I told him he said, "What's the theme for the month?" I said, "Paying attention." And this is one of those other things that I'm not supposed to say from the pulpit. He said, "Well, focus on the paying." But there are a few reasons I like to do this. First, it feels a little rebellious. And second, I like to reduce the distance, the space between the pulpit and the first row, even if no one's sitting on the first row. Not because anyone can or should preach, not because I don't believe in ministerial authority, and not because I think what's done back here is easy. That's not why. It's because I grew up distanced from the pulpit. When I grew up, the person in the pulpit was akin to a magician, a wizard, someone who never makes mistakes, never lets the broken part in, never feels regret, never wishes they didn't say that out loud. I don't know. I like inviting people into my head. It's a bit liberating. But I warn you, it's a weird place. Not really an organized place, not a well-picked-up place. There are probably some socks on the floor, candy wrappers on the table, and at least 137 empty Coke Zero cans. Maybe even half a tin full of Altoids. A couple of years ago, while in therapy, I wrote this poem that I sort of like about what it's like to be in my head on my day off, especially when I don't take my ADHD medication. So I wrote this poem called "My Day Off" that I'm going to read to you right now. You don't have to like it. It's just an introduction to my head. My day off. I have prepared my papers. I have done my research. It is time to sit and do the thing I've always wanted to do. But a cup of coffee sure would be nice. Steamy and rich. And I do have that new coffee maker and even some sweet cream in the refrigerator. Wait, how many beans do I grind again? I'll have to look it up. Where was it? I can't remember where I wrote that down. You know what I should do? Create a notebook with this information, just a place to jot important stuff down. Ooh, I'll use my organizer. Oh, shoot, I'm behind in my organizer. What did I do the other day? I need to record it for my timesheet. I need to be better with this thing. Oh, shoot, that thing between me and someone else happened. I can't believe that happened. I can't believe they did that, or they said that. Ugh. What was I doing again? All I can think of is that thing they said, or that they did. If I could just focus, I wouldn't get so behind and people wouldn't be so mad at me all the time. But today is my day off, and I was going to do something special. But I can't believe they said that, or that I did that. I need to think of something else, or I'll go insane. Wait, what was I doing again? So the poet here is obviously struggling with his attention. The poet makes clear at the beginning that it's their day off and that they have something special that they want to do. They've been waiting for a free day forever, and it was going to be today. And then comes the intrusion. Just a little thing. Some coffee would be nice. And it spirals from there. Maybe you know somebody who thinks like this. Maybe you think like this. Sit down to do something that you've been looking forward to do, and maybe something that you've really not looked forward to do, but something that needed a lot of time. So you scheduled this moment to do it on a day off. And maybe you just needed a break from everyday grind. And there it is in the back of your mind, just looking for the first opportunity to take center stage. That coworker who keeps taking your yogurt or doesn't get their work in on time, so you get blamed for it, or you need to double your work order. Maybe it's a relative that's stirring up trouble, or a family member who's sick. Maybe it isn't a person. Maybe it's a car that just won't run right no matter how much money you pour into it, especially since you know you just can't buy a new car right now, nor can you really afford to get it running right. It's there just waiting for an in. The poem I wrote that I read at the beginning of this sermon was written in, I think, 2021, around November, December. And it follows the actual path of the thoughts of that day. I don't even remember what I wanted to do. I just remember that I didn't end up doing the thing I wanted to do. Mary Oliver talks about stuff like this. She says, it is a silver morning like any other. I am at my desk. Then the phone rings or somebody raps at the door. I am deep in the machinery of my wits. Reluctantly, I rise, I answer the phone, or I open the door, and the thought which I had in hand, or almost in hand, is gone. I would suspect that I'm not alone and that we've all felt this at some point in our life. I think the reason Oliver reflects on it so well is because her career involves having to remember these thoughts. Mary Oliver needs to have those thoughts. And if you're like me, a lover of her poetry, you need her to remember those thoughts as well. It's like any creative worker, any painter, writer, film director, or actor. I remember getting angry at Robert Downey Jr. once because instead of working on another Iron Man film, he did this unasked for take on Sherlock Holmes. Like the British haven't done that to death. No, as progressives and lovers of beauty, we want those people to have their thoughts and their time. Oliver goes on to say, creative work needs solitude. It needs concentration without interruptions. It needs the whole sky to fly in, no eye watching until it comes to the certainty which it aspires to, but does not necessarily have at once. Privacy, then, a place apart, to chew pencils, to scribble and erase and scribble again. Our creatives are a very important resource. And I know what you're saying. But the world is falling apart. We're bombing children in Iran. Women have lost so many rights in red states that they're moving away and even thinking about leaving the country. The LGBT community is afraid of losing their rights to marry. Kansas has just invalidated the driver's licenses of all trans people. And then there's the SAVE Act, the biggest voter suppression bill since Jim Crow. There's too much going on. Do we really need to parse over whether or not creatives have enough time to write their poems and paint their pictures? And I understand no one in this congregation would be that reductive. But I couldn't help but wonder while I was writing this sermon whether or not there was something more important to preach about right now than paying attention to our creativity. But then I remember the music that is popping up in those trying times, and I remember glad the singers like Jesse Wells and Sophia Isela that are taking their time to create, because my question is, how could we really get through this moment in times without music and art and really existing in heartwarming Sunday sermons? Oliver says very beautifully, certainly there is within each of us a self that is neither a child nor a servant of the hours. It is a third self, occasional in some of us, tyrant in others. This self is out of love with the ordinary. It's out of love with time. It has a hunger for eternity. So we can all agree, I think, that we should encourage our artists to keep arting, especially now. But this sermon is about more than just leaving creative people alone so they can create the tools we need to feed our soul enough to survive this dark period of American life. But there is this part of this piece that makes me uncomfortable now, too. Now, understand, I would never disagree with Mary Oliver. I mean, who would? I would never disagree with Mary Oliver. But there is this direction she takes that does tweak my neck hair a little bit. And this is a longer quote, so pay attention. It's about the work of non-creatives. Most assuredly, you want the pilot to be on his regular and ordinary self. You want him to approach and undertake his work with no more than calm pleasure. And you want nothing fancy and nothing new. You ask him to do routinely what he knows how to do, to fly an airplane. You hope he will not daydream. You hope he will not drift into some interesting meander of thought. You want this flight to be ordinary, not extraordinary. So too with the surgeon and the ambulance driver and the captain of the ship. Let all of them work as ordinarily they do, in confident familiarity with whatever the work requires, and no more. Their ordinariness is the surety of the world. Their ordinariness makes the world go round. Okay, I get it. I get it. There are people out there who make their living by being creative, and I believe there should be. I support that. And maybe that isn't everyone. But I believe that all people must partake in creative work. For spiritual practice, and especially to get through mundane tasks. No, we don't want our surgeon to let their head wander during surgery, yet our surgeons do need their work. Or our surgeons, to do their work, must find time to let their head wander. Peter Mayer reminds us that everything is holy, everything is set apart. And though I would not apply this necessarily to art, I would apply it to something adjacent about spiritual practice. And he says this about miracles. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. And it occurs to me that there is a holiness in creativity, that we all need time to focus our attention on creativity. The world out there hungers for your attention. Our phones are designed to hijack our attention. We are more locked in and tied down as a people than we have ever been before. And that isn't to say that technology is bad or evil. It's just a tool. However, it has been absconded with by irresponsible people who are doing everything they can to keep you engaged with nothing. So they're free to own everything, including you. Big tech doesn't just want your money. I don't even know if they care about money anymore. then it's just become a tool for them to keep score. They want to keep you distracted enough so that they can remake the world in their image, because once you have acquired money to a certain point, it sort of becomes worthless. Look to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court may have ruled that corporations are people, but it doesn't mean they have souls. We do, and that gives us something very special. It gives us the capacity to love one another. One of the most important things we can do now is reinforce our relationships in our safe places, the places we can be spiritual and creative in peace and safety. When I started this sermon, I intended to talk about how complicated attention is, especially as someone who wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until he was 43 years old. I was going to talk about how spiritual practice, creativity, and attention look different to different people, especially those who are not neurotypical. But somewhere in the middle of this sermon, I began to ask a different question. I began to ask, how do our creative energies help us resist despair? You understand, I learned things from these sermons too, not just in the research, but in the actual writing. Something forms in my brain that was not there before. I learned from Mary Oliver that we must take time for our creativity, that we must even have the opportunity to focus on our creativity, and I would add our spirituality. The path of love calls us to actively resist the coming storm. The path of love calls us to continue to support those places like Hope Unitarian Church that provide a third space that is not work and not home, a place where we can learn who we are and get support when we're struggling. The path of love also reminds us that we will need to care for ourselves. And that means we have to engage the spirituality and the creative energies that make us who we are. However, we do that individually, but also together. There must be time for both. More than ever, we need to support those creatives who bring joy to a broken world. And we ourselves need to reach out and give more time to our creativity, to remind ourselves that we can create things that are honest and beautiful. And I think of these words by Peter Mayer. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I'll walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. The path of love reminds us that we create beauty in this world. We create the beauty of the world that we want to live in. And most of all, it reminds us that we are not alone. So if you're feeling alone or burned out, reach out. If you have something in the back of your head you've always wanted to do, do the thing. If you've ever thought of painting, paint. If you've ever thought of writing, write. If you've ever thought of poetry, you might as well write it down and use it in your sermons. We create the beauty of the world, especially the beauty that we want to live in. Thanks for listening. Our offertory, or our offering, our generosity recipient for the month of March is Women in Recovery. If you would like to donate specifically to Women in Recovery, please make your checks out to Hope Unitarian Church and write generosity in the memo line. And if you would like to donate to the operating fund, you're welcome to do that at this time with a check or with cash added to the envelope that is in the basket. Any cash that is not in an envelope will be directly given to our generosity recipient. I ask that you give, in a sense, to build the world that we want to build. Let's read our offertory response together. We build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves at fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. We drink from the wells we did not dig. We profit from persons we did not know. We are ever bound in community. At this time, we will sing our final song, which is My Life Flows On, an Endless Song, hymn number 108, and I invite you to rise at this time and body your spirit as you feel called. Let's extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame. So we remember these words by Peter Mayer. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Thank you, and go in peace.